May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. And I am Scott, your host, and a man who binge-watched every single episode of The Mandalorian over his holiday break. And I'm here with a special year-end episode of the show, really to make sure that 2020 finally dies a horrible death. That's what I'm talking about. Just kidding. But Paul B is remotely working and producing this show is his mission, should he choose to accept it. I will deliver this file later to him. It will be destroyed after 60 seconds after he hears it and decides whether he wants to produce it or not. So anyway, who am I? What do I do? That kind of thing. I'm Scott Robertson. I run Robertson Communications, which is a PR marketing firm in Orange County, California. How do you reach me? You can send me an email to scott@robertsoncom.com. You can find me on Twitter @RobertsonCom. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/RobertsonCom. And I'm also on LinkedIn and all that kind of fun stuff. And also, I'm a certified story brand guide now. So I create even better brand stories, better website wireframes, sales copy, and PR for my clients. I'm what's known as an attraction-based marketer, sort of a magnet in a world full of funnels. So I'm a fan of attracting people to the message and that sort of thing. But enough about me. Let's talk about 2020, which was just a weird year for the world and for marketing in general. I mean, first of all, we have this pandemic. We saw advertisements, with that same sad, sorry piano music and like a black background forever, telling us we're in this together and let's just hunker down together and yada, 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 bullcrap, bullcrap, so much so it was really ridiculous that marketing, became this sort of instrument of, the instrument of reminding people kind of the horrible times that we're in. I think that's bad. I think that's dangerous. I don't think that's our role. And I just think it's weird overall. So I did not like that. 2020, we also saw Hollywood completely shut down. They're still shut down. Live music was shut down. In California, bars were allowed to reopen and then they had to close again, and then they were allowed to reopen and then they had to close again. And same thing for so many businesses out there. But ironically, music product sales, guitars, home recording equipment, really gear of any kind, has never been stronger because that's because more people have disposable income and really fewer places to spend it. So, so I guess that's kind of a silver lining for the music products industry. A lot of these companies, as we've reported throughout the year in 2020 here, have had some of their best years going, their best years yet. And, that's certainly not a bad thing. And it's not a bad thing for more people to be taking up playing a musical instrument too. There's all kinds of good news around that. That's important. So cool. We also saw our news media, which basically, had a lot of trust issues going into 2020, but we saw them become just an instrument of pure propaganda for the state. And we saw, and really they're doing their very, very best to lose whatever little trust is left in them. And what's interesting about that from a marketing perspective is that leaves the PR profession in quite a pickle, because we built our city on their rock and roll, so to speak. So if there's no trust in them, it hurts the public relations profession, considerably. So because of that, public relations, we had to rely on even more stuff that we never really, arrows we never really had in our quiver before. Things like, a lot of paid tactics, a lot of paid advertorial tactics, a lot of, mat releases, and on the PR side, a lot of, paid influencer content. Just, it really puts us into more of a paid square than we've our profession's ever been. And, my friend Jenny Dietrich, who runs Spin Sucks, has always been an advocate that PR should be in charge of the paid side as well. But most kind of PR purists are like, well, paid, that really isn't us. And we really don't want to have that weird conversation because we're kind of afraid of what that ends up being. We try to do PR and get third parties to talk about brands for trust. And then the minute that it comes out that we're paying for it, we're going to lose the very thing that we were trying to get. So it's, if you're getting an image of the goose that laid the golden eggs being cut open and all the golden eggs being cut out, that's pretty accurate. That's pretty dead on for what we could potentially see. PR is about trust. And so we got to find vehicles that are trusted. A lot of micro influencers are very good for my clients these days. I work with a lot of mommy bloggers, a lot of folks that if you send them a product, they'll give you an honest review. They'll put it out. I mean, that's really, really good stuff. And it really helps my clients, reach other people and build trust and that kind of thing. And I kind of shy away from the ones that are looking for thousands of dollars per post and all that kind of fun stuff. And really owned content is starting to come to the forefront as more and more companies are saying, look, we need to just control all of it ourselves. Paul Reed Smith, with the NAMM show being shut down, Paul Reed Smith said, well, we're going to hold our own event. We're going to hold our own virtual event in January. We're going to show all of our new products. We're probably also going to participate in the virtual NAMM show and that kind of thing. But we're going to start to show our own event. And it'd be interesting to, it'll be interesting to see how many companies jump on them. Well, maybe we don't need anyone else. Maybe we can communicate with our audience, better than anybody else. And we think we can do it. We can create our own sort of, virtual experience. So that should be interesting to see too. One of my clients, BandLab, which owns guitar.com, produced a very successful virtual trade show. Very well done, extraordinarily well produced. And it was a huge hit. It was a huge hit for all the brands that were involved. It was a huge hit for them. And I think you're going to see more of that. I think you're going to see more of that now that people know what the technology can do, and that I still think there's no substitute for face-to-face contact in this human world, and there's no substitute for face-to-face contact at a trade show. Trade shows will continue. Especially after they get this, vaccination part of the equation figured out and all that. Fewer companies really stepped in it this year. It was harder and harder to write the winning and losing section of the show because fewer companies stepped in it because fewer companies were saying anything of meaning. They were not taking any chances. They were kind of cowering and really just, filing their PPP applications and hoping that there will come a day when they can step in it loudly again, I guess, and I think that we will see that in 2021. So it was a weird year. It was funky. There's no doubt about it. So rather than kind of do a 3-segment show, I thought I would just kind of keep talking on this. And I wanted to leave you with my tips for 2021 because, it was a tough year. But there are some things that we can learn from it, and there are some things that we can do better in 2021. This show is always about how can we do marketing better. So in 2021, we can do better by doing these 5 things. Number 1, we need to tell a real story. It always comes down to messaging. I know it sounds like I say it all the time, but you would just be stunned at how many giant brands say nothing. You say nothing. You have no story. You have no connection with the audience. You have nothing of value to say. Always start with what problem you're solving for people, and you will always be more interesting. In StoryBrand, we talk about, if there's no problem, there's no story. I was talking about The Mandalorian earlier. The Mandalorian is a series of stories, but in every story, Mando comes riding into town. It's a Western. He comes riding into town, and the townsfolk have some kind of problem. Oh, yeah. Well, we've got this situation. We got a giant crate dragon that's the size of, SoFi Stadium that's eating all the people and eating all the banthas. What can we do? Well, I'll tell you what, the Mandalorian's going to come to their rescue, and he's going to, at the same time, he's going to bring two races of people, the sand people and the townspeople together. And we're going to have this great philosophical problem resolved, at the climax when he blows up the dragon and that kind of thing. And every episode of the Mandalorian is the same. He comes, he shows up needing something. He, solves problems for other people. People have huge problems. He solves problems for other people and then sort of rides off into the sunset. And that story works for us. I mean, it's formulaic, but do that in your marketing. Your marketing is, if you're a lawyer, you're solving court cases for people. You're resolving business disputes for people. Talk about what you do in terms of the problems that you solve, and you will always be interesting. Number 2 tip, lead with empathy. I always assume that my audiences don't want to hear from me. I assume that they're busy, that they are just like, oh, God, if I get one more thing, a piece of marketing today, I'm just going to lose it. Assume they don't want to hear from you and then say, okay, now what? And also, when you lead with empathy, you're thinking about them. You're thinking about what their needs are. You're thinking about, again, it goes to content. You're thinking about the problem that you're solving for them. You're thinking about their privacy. Hello, privacy is always there. If you don't have permission to communicate with somebody, guess what? You shouldn't be communicating with them. Okay? If you don't have my permission to text message me and you text message me, I now hate you. I now have moved from purchase to consideration to awareness to pure burning hatred for your brand. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that. It's not cool. It's not right. It is wrong. Don't do that. All right. Number 3, try to add value with every touch point in your marketing. Look at your marketing mix and go, man, are we adding value? Are we providing information? Are we providing tips? Are we providing education? Are we providing something of value that people can use? Because if you aren't adding value, my advice to you is to stop communicating. You need to stop communicating. And that needs to be your filter in 2021. Am I adding value? If you say, Scott, well, I don't know how we can add value, call me. We can brainstorm ways that you can add value with your content and that kind of thing. And if you can't add value and you still need sales, don't communicate. Figure out another way to do it. There are other ways to attract people besides directly communicating to them, especially when you don't have permission, when you're not adding value. My 4th tip is make sure you measure what's working and also measure what isn't and make changes. Too few marketing programs just plod on year after year, and they plod into HubSpot and they fill their marketing funnels with a bunch of meaningless garbage emails and a bunch of meaningless garbage social media posts and a bunch of meaningless garbage, period. And they don't measure what's working, what's not, and they don't make changes. Okay? You have to do that. That's part of the science of marketing. We have to sit down and say, did this work? We got clients in the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times and this kind of thing. Did it work? The plan was we get you in here, that drives sales. That creates a measurable metric that helps the business. Did we help the business at all? And how do you know? And how can you prove it? You've got to be able to have those hard conversations in all types of measurement, because somewhere with your clients and even in your internal companies, they're looking at marketing as a cost and going, man, are we getting something from this? Are we getting something from this? And you can say all day, we're getting engagement, we're getting awareness, we're doing those kind of things, but you got to be able to prove it. In this day and age, data is king. You've got to be able to use your data and show what's working and show what isn't, and be brave enough to make changes to your program. And the 5th thing that I'll leave you with is that you got to have fun. The world is I think it's a much darker place today than it was at the beginning of the year. But I think that hope remains. I disagree with all the politicians who say, well, we're never going to get back to a new normal. I think that's bullcrap. I think we absolutely will get back to normal, and it won't be a new normal. It won't be a reimagined society bullshit normal. It will be a normal. We will finally do one of 2 things. We will decide not to be afraid, of this virus anymore, and we will move on. or we will get enough people vaccinated for it that we will decide not to be afraid of this virus and we will move on. But however it happens, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we're moving on. The human race doesn't stop. Technology doesn't stop. Our work doesn't stop. We don't ever stop. We never have stopped at any point of human history. It's not going to happen at this one either. We will, get back to normal. And like I said, no matter what the experts say, I don't have a lot of faith in experts after this year. They seem to change their tune about every third week. And so it's hard to take them very seriously. So hopefully that helps you. So what have we learned? 2020 sucked for so many reasons, but one saying that I really, really like, that I used to have hanging on the wall of a PR agency that I managed for a long time was, a bend in the road is only the end of the road if you fail to make the turn. I think we can make that turn, and we can make it our best year yet for marketing. That's it for me, kids. Thanks very much. It's been a weird year. It's been fun. We've had some great guests on the show. I urge you to go back and look at some of those shows. They were a lot of fun to do, and we've got lots more coming in 2021 as well. So thanks, and have a very happy New Year. Bye-bye.